Good evening. This is the Walpole Zoning Board of Appeals. Tonight is Wednesday, April 6th. It is 7 p.m. and we've got a couple things we have to do first for the zoning board. We have, on the zoning board, we have associate members that are appointed by the select board, and at the previous meeting, at a meeting of the select board, they appointed 3 associate members, very qualified members, and we appreciate them being on. The bylaws require only 2 associate members. So today, an email went out to the associate members and the whole board, and Mark Major, who was on the board as an associate member, said that he'd be willing to step back and not be on the board. I was hoping he was going to be here tonight, but he did respond back in an email. I think both board members saw that. So that resolves the issue that now the regular board members will be, or have been the regular board members, Dave Anderson, Bob Fitzgerald, Drew Delaney, Mary Jane, also known as Jane Coffey, and I'm John Lee. And the 2 associate members are Tim Hegler and Judy Conroy, just so that we're all clear on that. Okay. So, I don't think we need to vote on that. Patrick, did they say anything about needing to vote on that?
This is
No,
not the same
okay.
minutes.
That's just a procedural issue. First case is for High Plains Street, 173 High Plains Street. The applicant has requested a continuance until the 20th, I believe. Request in writing a continuance until April 20th, so at 7 o'clock here at Town Hall. And if anybody, is anybody here in the audience for that case?
Excuse me.
Okay, good, I'm glad. They must have been notified. So that will be continued, but we do need to take a vote on that to accept the continuance. So could I have a motion to continue the case for 173 High Plains Street?
So moved.
Okay. Moved by Dave,
Second?
second by Bob. And any further discussion? Okay, so all those in favor, regular board members voting on this, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, so carried. Okay, so 173 High Plains Street is continued until the 20th at 7 o'clock here at Town Hall. Hey, Mark, how are you? So we just, actually, at 7 o'clock, we talked about the conflict, and you had sent an email, so we accept your
Okay.
graciousness. So
Go.
thank you for
Mr.
being on the board with us.
Mr. Chairman, before Mark leaves, I really feel uncomfortable that this was not on the agenda and that there's perhaps might be an open meeting violation. I let you make your announcement and Mark is here. And I think this warrants a little bit more discussion.
Okay,
And I
so-
know it can't be tonight because it's not on the agenda, and I think that would violate open meeting law. So,
Okay, so I was being directed by town council as how to proceed, so I
Okay.
went with town council, so. Mark, thank you for your work on the zoning board, and I'm sure there'll be openings coming up in the future. Thank you. Yeah, okay.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay. Next case is Dupy Street. So we have case number 0520, on remand from the Housing Appeals Committee. This is Wall Street Development Corporation, docket number 21-04. And for this, we've had the hearing, and what we need to do tonight is close the hearing and then vote on the decision. At the last meeting, we discussed as a board if people were in favor of approving this or not, and we have a revised decision. I went through it. There were a few minor edits, typos, and one thing I wanted in here to be clear is on the part right before conditions, if you have a copy of it in front of you, all the pages are different depending on how you printed it out. But the section right before conditions, it's in bold, where it says, "The following conditions of approval were crafted and deliberated on extensively by the board prior to the final vote." I wanted to include it in that, in the original draft that many of you have, is the word that there were safety concerns, not just local concerns, but safety concerns on this development, because that's really what it came down to. It wasn't about not being in favor of affordable housing. It came down to this project, in the mind, at least in my mind, could not be done safely. So, all the other minor edits were typos and adding the word "and" in front of access and things like that. Does anybody have any other comments that they want edits on this, on the draft that you have? Okay. So, and Patrick, make sure I'm on track here. We need to close the hearing, and so we'll make a motion to close the hearing, and then we would vote on this draft, this decision of denial. And it would be the regular board members' majority vote.
That is correct.
Okay.
So that's the way the board wishes to go.
I did have just one question on, so this was a remand on the issue of the safety.
Right.
And the draft decision sort of repeats our original decision and then is supplemented with information based on the revised intersection. I just wanted to confirm, I didn't get a red line of it, but I just want to confirm it. All the other stuff that was in there hasn't been changed, because we weren't really supposed to be addressing anything other than that, the safety issue that was remanded to us.
That's right.
That's
Yeah.
correct, that's
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Okay, just want to confirm.
And that's really the only, that's what it came down to
Yeah.
in this,
Yeah.
was the question of safety. Okay. Okay. So, does anybody have any, board members, any questions or comments? Okay. 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 So at this point, could I have a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, moved by Jane, second by Dave. Any further discussion on just closing the hearing? Okay. Okay. All those in favor of closing the hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained. Okay, the hearing is closed. We have the draft decision in front of us. I think we're all comfortable, at least I'm comfortable with it. I hope other board members are comfortable. We've all had a chance to go over it, make any changes. Could I have a motion to approve the decision for Dupy Street, Walpole Assessors Map 35, Lot 380-1? Somebody want to make a motion?
I was
Sorry.
just gonna say, so were you repeating the motion that was in the decision, or, so the motion was in favor to accept the decision as
Right.
drafted for the denial?
As a denial, right. So could I have a motion to accept, in fact, I misspoke, I'm sorry. A motion to approve the denial of the Dupy Street development.
So moved.
Okay, thank you. Second. Moved by Jane, second by Drew. Okay, any further discussion on the denial? So the way this will go is, if you're in favor of this decision, which is a denial, you'll vote in favor of the denial, and if you're opposed to the denial, you'll vote opposed. Everybody agree that's correct? Okay. Okay, all those in favor of denial of the decision, please say aye.
Aye.
So that's Jane, Drew, and me, and those opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so Bob and Dave in favor of the Dupy Street. Okay, very good. And this will be filed with the town clerk as soon as possible.
Yeah,
Patrick?
some of the standard language I put in there from our previous decisions was to have the clerk sign on behalf of the board. That can be changed if the board sees fit. I was just
That's fine.
That's
Yeah, I
pretty
mean,
good.
if somebody who voted in favor wants to sign, that's fine. So,
Okay.
But I know it's just an administrative thing, so whatever,
Okay.
whatever you prefer.
Yeah, I'm happy to sign it. I'll be available
Check that.
later this week.
sure.
Okay. Okay. Okay, the next case is, case for Deborah Drive, and I'll be stepping down because I have a conflict where I work for the county, Norfolk County, at the Aggie School, so. Drew will be chairing.
Notice is hereby given, the zoning board of appeals of the town of Walpole will hold a public hearing, main meeting room of Walpole Town Hall on Wednesday, April 6, 2022, at 7 PM on an application from Giuseppe Petruzzello, apologize, case 22-5, with respect to the property located at 4 Deborah Drive, Walpole, Mass, within the rural zoning district. This application is for a variance under section 6B13 of the zoning bylaws to allow an attached shed 10 by 24 to the rear of a pre-existing conforming detached garage, 22 by 24 feet, wherein the attached shed creates a 15-foot setback where 30 is required. Is the applicant here?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Pasquale Straccia. I'm an attorney at Gully and Straccia of Walpole. I represent my client here, Giuseppe, and his wife Michelle Petruzzello of 4 Deborah Drive in their petition for a variance. If you can indulge me, I'll give you a little background on Mr. Petruzzello. They bought their home on Deborah Drive back in 2003. They've been raising their family here ever since. They raised their 2 children here, went to school here, graduated from high school here. I even believe that Mr. Petruzzello's son had a civil marriage ceremony in this very room a couple months ago. So these are Walpole people, been living here, love the town, and so they're looking for some relief. With respect to what's happening here, Mr. Petruzzello, being a car enthusiast, owns a motorcycle, loves to work with his hands, always wanted a large garage on his property on Deborah Drive. And so in 2020, he built a detached, it's actually 24 by 24. I know it says 22, but it's 24 by 24. Detached garage on the property in 2020. He built it in compliance with all setback requirements. He used this as a workshop, stores cars, particularly on his motor vehicles, stores tools. As time progressed, he realized that he could use a little more space for storage, and he built a 10 by 24 attached shed to the rear of the existing detached garage. And the shed has a rear setback of 15 where it requires 30 feet. The lot itself is an oddly shaped, unique pork chop shaped lot with a 20-foot town drain easement that runs through the middle of it. So putting something in the backyard is difficult because of the configuration. And with respect to the drainage easement, putting anything on the drainage easement, there's always a concern if there's some work that needs to be done that you'd have to then, dismantle whatever it is that's on top of the drainage easement. So the location of the garage and the shed on the lot is pretty much the only feasible place they could put it there. The building itself is well-built, good-looking structure, it sits in the back. It adds to the property. The backyard is a wooded area, abutted by the Norfolk Aggie on one side, and and his neighbors to the right. But again, very wooded, very secluded. And so, like I said, the structure itself is a quality, well-built, good-looking structure. A number of his neighbors have come forward and filed letters of support with respect to his petition, included primarily the 2 abutters that have the most impact from the shed, and that would be the Aggie, and on the other side would be Mr. McManus of 6 Deborah Drive. Both of them are in support of his petition. So we're here today humbly, respectfully asking that a variance be, a unique situation, a variance be given for the rear setback for this particular shed. Again, wooded area doesn't really detract, adds value. and I don't think it bothers anybody as far as sightline, how it looks. The shape of the lot adds to sort of a hardship argument that we're making here. And again, the structure itself is a good-looking structure, so we're looking for a variance for the setback.
Okay. I know this garage has been in front of the board before over this setback issue, and we have one of the department members here that I'd like to provide a little bit of history as far as how we got kind of to the situation that we're at from a zoning enforcement officer's standpoint.
No, I've dealt with Jim.
Is there any other questions from any other board members for the applicant?
Sure. Just for a point of clarification, just a little revisionist history. So to be clear, this is already built.
Yes, this is already up and
We're not asking for permission to build it,
we're asking for permission to let it stand.
but it was built within the last 2 years, since 2020?
The shed was built in 2021, last summer.
Okay.
The garage was built in 2020.
Okay. Sure. And I'll go, again, just point of clarification, this is what we're talking about.
That's exactly what we're talking about.
Just, can you just describe what's in the shed, what it's used for, how it relates to the garage?
It's a work area, it's a garage, he has an antique Jaguar, a motorcycle he likes to tinker on, and it essentially stores his tools, works on his cars, works on other things. Like I said, he's a hands-on guy. So it's storage, motor vehicle, tools, etc.
So it's an expansion of the garage, not a,
Same thing,
not a new,
same thing,
not a
storage
shed.
of tools, etc. And again, that area, the shed area, it butts the Aggie, which is all wooded. So it's the shed, a little yard, and then woods. So it's, you know, again, it really not bothering anybody.
The issue I have with this, to be perfectly frank, is the petitioner came before the board. And it was perfectly clear to me that he needed to go back and take a second look. And now you come before looking for a variance for something that was already done, already built, after he had come before us previously, and we neglected to say to give an approval. Now, I totally agree that, because I rode up by there, it's just way in behind. But the reality is this, sir. We have certain bylaws within the town, and they're there for a reason. And although this seems perfectly harmless, it's behind, it's in nice taste, nobody's taken objection to it, but the reality is, it flies in the face of the zoning bylaw. Were we to give our blessing to this and say, okay, you know, you're looking for approval for something that you already did, what's to prevent anybody else in the town doing the same thing? For example, years ago when I was on the zoning board, there was a petition that came before us. Somebody had built a pool house directly on the property line, a very nice, beautiful pool house. But the reality was, it was on the property line. And the petitioner came before us, the neighbors came before us, and the reality is, that person had to take that pool house down. So it isn't a matter of, it's nice, it looks nice, the neighbors all agree, it's not bothering anybody. It flies in the face of the bylaw. And something else that I really, that I don't know just how to say this, but I found it rather disconcerting. The petitioner had somebody from the board or trustees or whomever from the Norfolk Aggie go there and walk and look at it and send a letter to the board stating that he had walked on it, looked it over, and and decided it was perfectly appropriate and that we ought to look favorably. And my point is, whomever decided to do that is taken upon a position of the board that this is okay. So I just want you to know where I'm coming from. It isn't anything personal about this particular building or the neighbors or how it looks, and I'm sure it's, but the reality is, number one, it was built after the petitioner came here and did not get an affirmative vote. And secondly, now you're coming looking for that. So I find this very difficult decision, to be honest with you.
True.
I'm just gonna review what variance is: financial hardship, topography of the land, and character of the neighborhood. It's already built. Did you pull a permit to build that attached shed?
No.
Okay, no permit? Thank you. It's considered attached. It's not a tool shed on, you know, which could have been maybe the case, but you chose to attach it to your 24 by 24 approved garage, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So now, by doing that without a permit, you've now created a non-conforming situation for your property. Now, non-conforming, we can't create something that's non-conforming. And we're not allowed to do that. If something's non-conforming, we can't make it more non-conforming. And if it's conforming, we can't make it non-conforming, which is what you're asking us to do through the variance. It's already up. Sorry about that. I agree with Jane about the pool house that had to come down. It's already up, and if Mr. Crowley wants to address this, there probably were other remediations for you to put up an additional tool shed or something on your property that would have achieved the same thing you're using it for. In fact, I know there was, and Mr. Crowley would probably address that, but we're not supposed to design for you. But what we can tell you is, I'm not in favor of granting a variance for something that you already built, that you're trying to make it non-conforming. Now, it doesn't matter that your neighbors like it. When you go to sell your house, and you will someday, you would have, if this goes through, a non-conforming situation. I don't think banks like non-conforming situations. They really frown upon them as far as, especially since you created it. So I will not, if I'm gonna be a voting person, I would not grant this variance, and I would like to hear from Mr. Crowley to see if he has the history, I guess. I think we all know the history.
Drew?
Sure.
Not to continue to go, but just to echo some of the other board members' comments, I'm very uncomfortable with two things. One, a self-induced hardship. You know, that's tough, and asking for forgiveness versus, like, permission. Those are tough ones for me to swallow.
Look, I can't speak to what happened in the past. I didn't represent him in the past. It's presented to me that, you know, he built the shed to the conforming structure. I recognize we're here sort of seeking forgiveness. But I think it meets the criteria as far as hardship, shape of lot, et cetera, with respect to a variance. I mean, I feel as though you're holding the events of the past against them, and I guess you have every right to do that. What I'm saying is that, you know, that it's there, it doesn't detract from the structure itself. Again, you have the neighbors who consent to it, and obviously there's gonna be a hardship in removing it and tearing it down. You know, I recognize you don't want to establish bad precedent, but again, you know, you have to look at every case as a unique matter before this board, and this one is unique, but I feel as though it does meet the criteria to grant the variance. Now, again, it's within your discretion, and again, I can't speak to the past, but I'm here today trying to, you know, move this thing forward, and, you know, I feel as though you guys are prejudiced from what happened in the past, which is, you know, again, you're well within your rights.
So, the past is the past, but the past did happen, and it was real. And in theory, anyone in Walpole could go build a non-permanent addition on the house and come back to this board and say, but it's already here and that's my hardship. If you ask me to take it down, it's gonna cost me this to take it down, and I built it, and that's, you know, without even getting into the part of it, because way beyond our purview in building non-permanent structures, I just have an issue with that.
And I recall the last hearing on the original proposal, and we were accused at that time of being prejudiced against the applicant. I took strong exception to that, and I continue to. The board is not prejudiced. We're looking at the facts. We're looking at the history here because it is relevant. And we're going to make a decision based on the facts as applied to the bylaw.
Thank you. Does anyone have any more comments? Mr. Crowley, would you kindly speak to the nature of the property and the permits and how we've got to the point we're at now?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Board members. Jim Crowley, Building Commissioner. So this started off with the owner wanting a 24 by 32 foot accessory structure garage, which was too close to his rear setback. So we denied it, gave him permission to build a 22 by 24. When we went out to inspect it, the foundation was done for a 34 foot, shed garage. So we denied it on that. He came to the board for his variance. He did withdraw without prejudice, and he built his garage to the front of the foundation, and we made him remove the rear of the wall down to the grade, so it just looks like kind of basically a patio or a flat surface at the back. Probably 6 months later, a neighbour filed a complaint. When we went out to inspect, we found that he'd put a shed onto, as you see in the pictures, added onto the back of it. And that's when this part started. So then we sent a violation out saying he'd constructed an accessory, or added onto an accessory structure more than what was allowed, and he was in the rear setback. And this is why they're before the board again applying for a variance.
When you went out to inspect the property and you found the attached shed to the garage, were you there inspecting that, or what? You said that you were notified by a neighbor for that, or?
Yes, when the butters called us to say that the garage had been added onto, and asked was that a violation, we said it was, so he asked us to do the enforcement of zoning. So when we went out there, we met the owner on site and saw the addition and explained to him that he's going to be going back before the board for a variance.
Okay. To my recollection, the way it started was, like you said, that the slab was poured for a 32 by 24
Yes.
shed in the first place, and that was the original variance request, was
That
because
built on.
we had poured the slab prior to asking for the variance in that situation too. Okay. Is there any other board members that have questions for Mr. Crowley?
No, I just had one
Sure.
question. You mentioned sorry, Mr. Crowley. No, I'm sorry. Wrong
Okay.
person. Okay. No,
Thank you
no,
very
Jim.
much.
I was ahead of myself, sorry.
Go ahead, Judy.
You mentioned, sir, the butters on either side are in favor. Are they here, or do you have anything in writing?
We have letters of
Letters?
support
Okay.
from a number of letters from
Okay,
6 Deborah, 2 Deborah, and a letter from the Aggie.
okay. Thank you.
Is there anyone from the public that'd like to speak to this? Please come up and address yourself and,
Good evening, everyone. How are you? Bill Buckley. I'm the Assistant Director in Norfolk County. I'm also a lifelong Walpole resident. It's good to see you all this evening. If I could just read a letter into the record from our attorney and then just give kind of expository comments on that very briefly after this. Our attorney addressed it to Mr. Natola, CC to Mr. Duchesne. Dear Mr. Natola, please be advised that I represent the County of Norfolk. Please consider this letter written notice that the Norfolk County is in a butter of Mr. Petruzziello's property at 4 Deborah Drive. Please be further advised that Norfolk County was never given proper notice on the hearing in case 22-5 because, upon information and belief, the Town of Walpole Assessor's records are incorrect. Specifically, the assessor's records list the Norfolk County Agricultural High School, Aggie, as the owner of the property abutting Mr. Petruzziello's property. The Aggie School does not own the land. Title to the abutting property is in the name of Norfolk County. Accordingly, I respectfully request that the hearing be continued until such time as proper notice is given to the County of Norfolk. Alternatively, I respectfully request that no substantive action is taken in connection with case number 22-5 this evening, and that any substantive action be held delayed until such time as the county can be heard. please feel free to contact me to discuss further. Very truly yours, Scott P. Lopez, County Attorney. I'm only here for a procedural matter. I believe the notice for this hearing went to the Aggie. The commission and the county are owners of the land. We're working with the assessor who has the map, which the abutters list is generated for, because it is not, where you sent the letter for this hearing is different than where the title is held, and further, the trustees and the Aggie do not own, they're not the owners of the land, it's the commission. So we have no official opinion at this time on the proposal before you. I'm sure the commission may choose to write a letter in support or opposition at a future time, but as it stands right now, the commission itself was not notified. And so this is a purely procedural matter. I'm happy to drop this to Pat. You know,
So I could let Patrick speak to that, because we did see your letter come through electronically.
Yeah, and I think we had a conversation as well,
Yeah.
Mr. Buckley. So the board does not put together the certified abutters notice. Neither does the applicant. That's done by the assessing department. So once the board is in possession, as well as the applicant, all of that certified abutters list, that is the information that we have to work off of. So the board correctly noticed all abutters as identified through the certified abutters list put together by the town assessor. So in terms of legal procedure, we followed to the letter law of what information we were provided. So I would say the board's under no obligation to continue based upon the board's under no obligation to continue the hearing based upon a discrepancy in the assessor's information, as we can only work with the information that we have provided.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is there something you wanted to add?
The gentleman who, I don't have it with me, but the gentleman from the Aggie who wrote the letter, and was he one of the trustees?
I believe so. I don't have the letter. you're
Okay,
speaking
so,
to. I just found out about this.
he was a trustee. So in other words, what you're saying, just for my own clarification, that it was sent to the Aggie school and not to the trustees, and they were the trustees who are owners of this property, they were not properly notified. Is that what you're saying?
The trustees are not the owners of the property. The county commissioners are
Oh,
the owners
okay,
of the
that was my
property.
question.
Our office is in Dedham.
But it
I live right next to the Aggie, by the way.
It would just seem to me that if I were a trustee, I would realize that this was an issue, and.
Can't speak to
and-
that, just.
I know, I'm just free floating here.
Understood.
I would just think that somebody would say, well, anyway, thank you.
Again, we have no position on that thing, just that we'd like to rectify that. So, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak from the public? Is there any other comments from the board members? My feelings on it are that coming after the fact is certainly not something that I'm in favor of. I think it's the second time for the same property that we're asking for forgiveness after the fact, and I think it represents the board negatively by approving such request, and I will not be in favor of granting this, but if there's no further comments from anyone, the voting members will be Dave Anderson, Rob Fitzgerald, Jane Coffey, myself, and Judy Conroy on this hearing. Would you like to close the case?
I think that I said what I needed to say. Again, we were just respectfully at your mercy. If you could take some, show some mercy here with respect, understand there's a hardship to remove this thing too, and it really doesn't affect anybody as far as his abutters, and it adds to the property, but nothing further other than that.
I'd like to add something. You said this is...
Can you identify yourself, please,
Yeah,
for the
I'm
public?
Mr. Tucciello, I'm the property owner.
Okay.
Now, this is not the second time, the first time I didn't build anything without the permits or anything. The first time, I did a foundation because the town was closed. The town hall, because the virus was closed. I built the foundation, and I told the inspector that I was gonna build a foundation 32 by 24. And if I didn't get the variance, I could build the garage within the foundation, which would be fine. So there was nothing done wrong the first time.
Okay.
And when the variance was not given, I built the garage 24 by 24 in compliance. It's not the garage I wanted. I wanted a bigger garage with 2 floors. I had to build a smaller garage. Now, the back of my garage, because the foundation was bigger, tilts into the garage. So when it rains, water comes into the garage. This is another reason why I put the shed right behind the garage, to cover the foundation that's already there. So that's another, so it's not the second time that,
Well, I appreciate you adding your perspective, but I also do remember there was a discrepancy between the permit that you pulled and the value of the planned value on the permit amount, and you had expressed to the board numerous times the cost at which it cost you to pour the slab, which was substantially different than what was written down by you, the applicant, on the permit. So there was a gray area that had happened previously.
there
but-
was a great area, but it was a misunderstanding, because the permit I pulled was to build a garage, but it was used just for the slab. I had to pull a second permit to build the garage. So there was 2 permits pulled, one for the slab and one for the garage. So the original permit, the amount I paid for the original permit was just for the slab. When I pulled for the garage, I pulled for the whole amount of the garage.
Okay. Thank you. Go,
Just,
sure.
just real quick. But you poured the foundation that pitched into your 24
Yeah, I
by
did
20.
that, that's
Right, so the fact that water, after you poured a foundation, pitched into your garage,
I'm not saying I
you
did
did
good.
say though.
I did
that
say I did good.
You did say that was a hardship, that after you built your original garage,
hardship
to
is the
mitigate
shape
the
of the
water from the poorly pitched, potentially poorly pitched
Yeah.
foundation, was to build a shed to mitigate that.
Yes.
So I just wanted to, point of clarification.
Yeah, that's
Level
right.
set, that you poured the
It's
foundation
my
that
fault,
pitched
it
into your
pitches
garage.
in, that's right. But, you know, the
So a
hardship
self-induced
is the
hardship.
shape of the lot. The shape of the lot. I have 2 acres of land that I'm paying taxes on that I can't use. You know, and this is a shed, after all, it's just a shed. It's a shed that doesn't touch anybody's property. It's 15 feet away from the woods. You know? I understand that because I already built it, and I'm here asking for forgiveness, why doesn't everybody else do that? Each case is separate, okay? Each person has their own thing. I mean, if I have to tear it down, I gotta tear it down, but it's gonna cost me. Then I gotta fix the foundation because it's gonna keep pouring water into the garage. So it's a lot of money to fix that. And at the end of the day, I'm just gonna have to build a shed in another part of the lot where it's in back of people's houses, where people are gonna see it, and it's gonna look ugly. This way, it's nice and clean, nice and neat. And I mean, if something happens later on in the future that I'm forced to tear it down, that's fine, we'll tear it down then. But for now, it's not bothering no one. Maybe you could give like a time-based variance, I don't know. You know, I'm asking you for your help as a resident of this town, that's all I'm doing.
I appreciate that. Can I have a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carried to close the hearing. Can I please have a motion for a variance, a denial of the variance under section 6B13 of the zoning bylaws for 4 Deborah Drive?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Jane, second by Dave. All those in favor of denial of this application, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you, board. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
You do.
Okay, Drew, good job. Do you have the agenda right there? Okay. Stephen, do we have the minutes to review from March 16th? Were those sent out?
Yes. Are they in your packet? At the back?
Jane, you said you had some items on this that you wanted on the minutes?
Well, there are a couple of things that if I recollect, when Mr. Fitzgerald was talking about the ramifications if we were to refuse this or decline this. And I distinctly remember, unless I made a mistake here, which I could have, but I'm pretty sure I remember, that Mr. Fitzgerald said this board will be derelict in their duty if they were not to approve this. And he wanted that specifically stated in the minutes.
That's incorrect, and I do not want that stated. I never said that we were derelict in our duty.
Oh, I thought that, okay, but I'm pretty sure you said you wanted it in the minutes.
I think those
No,
are rather
I've never
strong
said-
words, and
We can look at the video, but I
No.
did not say that.
I don't remember
Did you
that either.
remember?
On the record.
Well, you better say it.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't in the minutes, but I believe, correct me, you did say you wanted it on record,
Yes.
so.
I don't recall that.
And I don't want to get into that because I have my own issues with the minutes, but I'll just I'll
I
let
don't
it sit.
recall saying that, but I'm
Okay.
happy to look at the video and be corrected. But if that's an issue for folks, I'd prefer not to approve the minutes until I have a chance to look at the video.
So,
I
we don't need
yeah.
to, so
Okay,
let's
no,
get
I
that,
agree.
let's
Yeah.
get that clarified. Judy, do you have anything else on the minutes that you
Yes, I
wanted?
do.
Patrick has something. Wait a minute.
Ms. Conroy can continue. I was just gonna say, if there are comments, if the board wishes to continue these to discuss at a separate meeting, feel free to send the comments in beforehand so they can be corrected.
I didn't mean that in any derogatory fashion at all.
Understood.
It was strong, and you felt strongly about it.
I felt strongly that the board
Yeah, and
should
I
not.
honestly felt if you felt that way, it ought to be in the minutes. I wasn't taking this from a derogatory standpoint.
No, I
Please
understand.
understand that.
I felt, I laid out my reasons why I voted the way I did, but I am loath to accuse the board of anything.
Well, see, that's what I
and
was,
so that's what I
yeah.
did.
Okay,
I'm
very good.
virtually certain I didn't say that.
I don't remember those words, because that would have stuck with me, but, okay. So why don't we do this? We don't have to vote on these.
Can I just
Yeah.
make my statement
Yeah.
since we're on a roll here? On the first page, when I made comments on the Washington Street Clock Tower project, I did make comments on the pedestrian layout. I didn't use the word infrastructure, and I don't mean to be splitting hairs, but I'm confused or maybe concerned that words are being, like, things are being consolidated and put forth in it with a different light on them. And when I get to my second complaint, when I recused myself from the meeting before the Wall Street Burns Ave property, my words were, I'm recusing myself because I'm a direct abutter. Now, I take someone else's words, and I see that I recused myself due to a conflict of interest. I take huge exception for someone that's taking notes or not taking notes and putting into the minutes a term that has a totally different meaning, in my opinion. It's an inference that someone writing those notes, taking those minutes, is determining that I have a conflict of interest. I recused myself because I was a direct abutter, and those were my words. And I have, I'm just gonna have to continue looking at everything I said and just kind of pick through it, because maybe I'm not clear what note-taking is supposed to be. I've been on a lot of boards. These notes, and I kind of said it before, I know they're supposed to be votes, and they're not supposed to be word for word or conversational, but when words are inserted, like infrastructure or conflict of interest, that's, to me, that's not minute-taking. And someone can tell me this tape's available to listen back and forth. If that's gonna be the official record and this is not, then I think we need to decide that or get an opinion from the Attorney General or something. Because I was not pleased when I saw what I supposedly said. And I know we can correct it. We have time because they're not accepted. But if I wasn't here, they would have been accepted.
Okay. So what I'd like everybody to do, if you have concerns, go through the minutes, get them to Stephen, Patrick, and they can be changed, and then we can vote on them at the next meeting. That's why we do minutes the way we do. So
So
that
I
we
guess
make
my
sure it's
question
an
is-
accurate reflection of what took place in the meeting.
Right. So I guess my question is, what is the accurate, from a legal standpoint?
Accurate reflection of the meeting is that the board accepts the minutes that they determine reflects the meeting. And if you have a problem, which, by the way, conflict of interest and being in a butter are two different things. Okay?
That's what I'm saying.
I agree.
Okay,
So-
thank you for
so,
agreeing
no,
with me.
so
Okay.
I agree, conflict of interest and being in a butter are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
So, although as a butter, you can't sit on the case because it would be a conflict of interest.
Exactly, but there's
So
nobody
I-
here to be judge
so-
and jury to tell me I
so-
have a conflict of interest, is my point.
So I don't think it was a, something out of malice.
No,
or
I know
anything like
that.
But
Patrick, I know that, but I guess-
That's why, if somebody has a problem with the minutes, that's why we review them and then we vote on them. So if anybody doesn't like something, highlight them and we can make those changes.
So I do have a question. Is it the trend to listen to the video or watch the video and take the minutes, or are we supposed to have live minutes? And then maybe if you have a question, go back? Because
I'll ask Stephen, how are you doing the minutes? Are you,
Via the video,
what's that?
via the video.
Okay, with the video.
So is that something this board wants to continue? I mean, I see
I-
other boards taking, minutes are being taken. And then if there's questions,
That's
Then you
different
can
skill.
review.
So,
Yes.
I assume you're talking about the planning board and.
no, other boards
Okay.
have people
Kate
taking.
Delaney takes very good
Yes,
notes,
she
but she's
does.
skilled with shorthand and things like that. So it's a total different way of doing notes. And other people do it with a brief transcription of the video. Some people have very brief notes. I actually think these minutes are rather detailed. So the way it works, if you want something changed in it, let's get it to Patrick and Stephen, and we can vote on it
I
again.
will say, I mean, I respect all the opinion of the board members in terms of how, if you want to have a correction in the minutes, by all means, let us know. I don't want to split hairs in terms of detail of what should be in the minutes. The minutes should be detailed in terms of what the content of the meeting is. The motion should be correct. The conditions, if mentioned, should be accurate. If a word is misplaced and you want it corrected, there's really no harm, no foul. Please let us know.
Right.
We're going through that, and
it'll be
it's supposed to
corrected.
be a summarization as well as the detailed information that accurately reflects the meeting. It's
Right.
not a transcription.
And I understand, that's a good word, transcription, but my next question is, are the votes being taken and recorded as we take them now, live time, not Memorex? Are you looking back at the minutes and then,
I mean, I keep
Taking notes
during
off the-
meeting,
off-
and I know you can. The meeting via the video is the same meeting that's in front of us right here, but I do keep notes in terms of what the board votes on
Okay.
and who votes on it.
because I'm just not confident that a video on YouTube, something could happen to it, the cable guy's good. You don't know, there could be a
You're
crease.
right.
in-
It's good to keep notes during the meeting as
Right.
well. It's accurate.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page, no pun intended.
Okay, so we'll bring those minutes back with any revisions people have.
I just wanted to add one quick thing about the minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you for putting the times in there. I do think that's actually a
Yes.
helpful note. That I would say that seems pretty good. Not
Yep.
good suggestion, and it's well themed. Sorry.
No, that's good. Okay, and the final thing, new business, department updates.
So it's not reflected in this application, but I've had Stephen going through the board's application material to both look into mistakes as well as formatting. There's a few things brought up in terms of like signatures, and including also a line of just actually who the applicant is. So Steve's been going through that to basically get our application our abutters request, all the forms that the board has to be, formatted a little bit more up to date and accurately reflect some of the issues that have been brought up before. I know Ms. Conroy brought the issue in terms of, we have an owner and an applicant, and we got some scribble of a signature. It's also good to just simply put in the actual transcription of the person's name in writing rather than just a signature. So just little things like that to get it up to date. So we're gonna probably go forward and have those be more accurate, the applications. Nothing's changed in terms of context other than adding those missing features and having the formatting look a little bit more unified. We had some forms that were a little bit, just different fonts, just different placements, so just having everything be consistent and look more professional. And other than that, I was gonna do just a pitch for the Master Plan Steering Committee. I know this is the zoning board meeting, but the Master Plan Steering Committee is planning its second community forum on Wednesday, April 27th at 7 p.m. at the cafeteria of the Walpole High School. So similar to the fall forum, the meeting's going to be 2 hours long. Opportunity to kind of go over the goals as well as discuss elements of the town that people want to see improve, see change, see what makes Walpole great, what we can do to improve Walpole. So it's another opportunity for residents to come out to that. It's a great opportunity to be involved in the shaping of your town, so to speak. So in addition to that in-person forum on April 27th, we're actually also doing an online option as well. So an online option is going to be on Sunday, May 1st from 3:30 p.m. to 5 p.m. And registration information is available on the town website for the under the Master Plan 2022 webpage. So if anyone feels like would love to be involved, we can't make the in-person meeting on a Wednesday night, we have a remote option on Sunday. So just want to put that out there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Patrick?
Yep.
I just had one more thing while you're updating forms. I noticed on the agenda, and I don't know if anyone else has noticed, but not that I'm feeling slighted, but I think it should read to contact, if questions on the agenda, that it should be contacting the Zoning Board of Appeals and not the Community Development Office. We are the Zoning Board of Appeals, and Stephen is under us and he's under Patrick, I assume. So when it's the Zoning Board of Appeals agenda, I think if there's any questions, I think they should be directed to the Zoning Board of Appeals office with Stephen's name. That's how I feel.
That's fine. Yep, make it to the ZBA.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, anybody have anything else? Okay, interesting meeting tonight. Could I have a motion to, do we have anything else, Bob?
I got,
Okay.
No, I don't have anything else, except I haven't heard from the Bylaws Committee yet. You who?
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So
Okay,
moved.
moved by Dave, second by Drew. And thank you, Drew, for chairing that, was tough. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.